Hi, I'm Stephen Hand from Archery Supplies, and today we're going to put together the Evolve 28. So I'm going to show you how to set one up, just with the basic setup, and I'm just going to talk through some questions that I get commonly asked with setup. Now, the reason I'm doing this video is because lots of people don't know how to set up a bow, and they get confused. So a basic 5-pin sight. Now on the PSE, you've got the little screws on the back. So I'm going to hold the riser there. The sight goes on this side of the riser. Now I do this every day, so for me I can almost do it blindfolded. I reckon I could do it blindfolded. But for customers who don't know anything about archery, trust me, people do put their sights on this side of the riser. I've seen shops put on that side of the riser. It goes on the back of the riser. So I take off the 2 screws. So now you've got a choice here on the different settings, there or there. Now that will depend on you and shooting the bow. What you generally want is the sight here to be in the middle. So I generally look for my top pin to be towards the top, and then the 30 meter pin I kind of want in the middle of the sight bracket. So I'll use these little sight mounting spots to get my sight in the right spot. But I'm going to guess it's going to be on the bottom too. So I'm just going to screw those in. It's definitely easier to do on a bench. Now I'm using a set of Allen keys. The Allen key size I'm using is 1/8. Now this is a PSE set of Allen keys. They're basically all, when I say they're all the same, they're pretty much all the same. Whether you get it from Pine Ridge, I think, they're basically all the same type of Allen keys. Now the Allen key sets come in 2 sizes, a large and a small. The large ones you'll generally need for limb bolts, and the small one you generally need for micro for the small size on Allen keys. So you can see on the bigger size on the small here, it's too small for the limb bolt, so you need the large one to do the limb bolt. Now you also need Torx. The Torx set is like green, and it's got the star shape. That's to change the draw length on the bow. So we've got the sight on the bow like so. Looks like that. Now we grab the arrow rest. Now the choice between a basic whisker biscuit arrow rest or a drop away. It's a huge question. I'm just putting this on because it's cheap. It's cheap and simple. If you want to use a drop away, it's a little bit more complex. I generally don't use drop aways on my kits because when you set it up, it's draw length specific. So if you change the draw length, you have to change the setting on the drop away. And that's generally too advanced for beginner archers. Where this, this little biscuit arrow rest here is just simple. Now that bolts onto the one hole, it bolts onto the outside of the bow like so. Comes a little pack. So with the new PSE Evolve 38, the PSE have served the cables to stop wear on the cable slides. So when you fit the whisker biscuit, you have it hard up against the riser. The riser on the PSE is flat. The arrow rest comes straight up against it. Now when you set up the arrow rest, you look down the center of the bow, that being about the center of the bow there, and you have the arrow straight down the center. Now the center of the bow you can get from the little screw holes here, the cable guard, the little screw holes here, and the center of the grip. You want your whole of your arrow rest to be straight down the center of that. So if I look at it from behind, I close one eye. The arrow rest is slightly on the inside, so I'm going to move that out a little bit. Now a basic setup without tuning the bow is going to be fine. Like, you're going to shoot absolutely fine with it. There was a customer today on the phone talking to Tracy, and they were talking about fine tuning their PSE Supra. Now she shoots a Supra, and I can guarantee you she's never tuned it, and she shoots 299 out of 300 for indoors, came third in the nationals in the ladies compound, and was 2 points off winning, and she has never tuned her bow. And she shot the same score as I did for one of the rounds. I think I beat her overall, but my point is, as long as the bow's set up and the arrow's shooting straight, the whole tuning thing is secondary to your ability to shoot. So I want the string, the hole here, straight down the middle. And some of my customers say, you know, about tuning and fine tuning. If you could buy 3 hours practice, you're going to be better than tuning in most cases. I mean, the number of times I get beginners who go, I want to tune my bow. They can't shoot, they're talking the bow. You cannot tune your bow if you're talking the bow. It will never, ever happen. So you're wasting your time. So when I've had people come in my shop who can't get their bow to tune, I grab the bow, I shoot it, and it shoots perfect. I'm like, well, there you are. And they're like, oh, it must be me then. It's like, yep, it is. Right. So now I've centered the arrow rest there. Now the next thing I want is the arrow to be straight down the center of this string. Now on the PSE Evolve, this is a twin cam setup, so the top cam and the bottom cam are identical. You want your arrow dead in the center of the string here. Now that's generally through the center of the plunger hole here. So if you're shooting a drop away arrow rest, the center of the hole here is where you want your arrow to go through, and you can measure the string and the distance if you want it exact. Look, 1 or 2 millimeters is not going to make too much of a difference for me. I use a bow square here. This is the bottom of the arrow. This is the bottom of the mark there where the arrow is. I have it up one little point there, so the arrow comes through with a slight direction coming through slightly high. They found in testing if an arrow comes through slightly high as opposed to dead straight, it's a little bit easier to shoot. So just one little mark high there is where I place my D-loop. At the bottom, so to start with, I take a D-loop. I generally start with 4.5 inches. The ends are burned at either side. Now I get lots of questions about the types of D-loop material. There's basically BCY, who make D-loop, and Brownell. The Brownell black one I find is quite stiff, which I really like. The BCY colored are generally quite stiff. The BCY black is quite soft. So I generally prefer the Brownell in the black, but I prefer the BCY in colored, which is why I often use colored on most of my bows that we set up, because it burns off nicer on the ends. It burns off nicer on the ends than the black. So I'm just going to tie this, and I'm going to show you the tie. Just there. Now if I had D-loop pliers, I haven't got enough room there to use them yet. I can use pointy nose pliers to make this a little bit larger. I'm just going to use Allen keys to pull on it. But the D-loop pliers are about $20, well worth getting. You can see now I've made it a little bit longer. Now I want to pull on it. Now my problem is, without having D-loop pliers at home, because I'm doing this at home, it's really hard to get enough tension on the D-loop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some pliers and see if I can stretch that out a little bit further. So I've grabbed some D-loop, some D-loop pliers, some pliers. I'm just going to put these in the D-loop like so, and I'm going to stretch that D-loop, try and stretch that D-loop out. So first off, I'm going to just push it in. I think that's about as much as I'm going to get without proper pliers to pull on it. I think that's about as good as I'm going to get. So if you're doing this at home, setting it up yourself, you really need D-loop pliers. Like that's pretty tight at the moment. That's a very short D-loop. So clearly not 4.5 inches. Making D-loops, you grab the braid, the D-loop cord, cut it at 5 inches, burn off the ends using either a flame to make the little knobs there. I use a soldering iron to burn the ends, and it should come down to about 4.5 inches overall size after you've done it. Now, I got a question the other day about the PSE cable roller slide. They said, has it changed? Now you can see this one is stainless, and I saw a picture on the Archery forum showing that the distance between the two rollers had actually increased. Now I wasn't aware of this, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare the new one, this is 2018, to my old one. Now look at that, that's a little bit loose, so I'm going to tighten that up. So this is the roller slide off my Perform, and this is the roller slide off the new 28, and it's absolutely identical. I mean, there may be some difference besides the silver versus black, but to me, the gaps are absolutely identical. The width of the rollers are absolutely identical. I can't pick the difference. Now, I'm going to show you my cables. Now I've been shooting my bow, we're in the 8th month. I got my bow, I think about December, but you can check the videos. My cable's just there. So you can see they look pretty good. I do believe there is a different version of this, which is an even older model. So this is the bow set up, 90 degrees, Peep Sight on, Whisker Biscuit on. Now if you choose a drop away, like I said, you've got to set up for the draw length, and it takes a bit of time. It's got to be set, it's got to hit maximum right at the end. But that's pretty much it. Now if you're going to fit a Peep Sight, the rubber tubing's simpler to fit because you don't need to worry about rotation, but it does take 10 feet per second off the speed of the bow. So if you're going to fit one without the rubber, you're going to need a bow press of some variety to either put on the limbs to twist your string to get the Peep Sight in, and to rotate the Peep Sight so it pulls back straight. Now that can take up to an hour to fit the Peep Sight and get the rotation correct. With fitting a piece of rubber tube to it, it's literally a 5-minute job. So, but for this purpose, I'm just setting this up so I can do it for the bow review. Now, Peep Sight is optional. You'll shoot probably fractionally better with a Peep Sight, but not necessary for you to shoot. This is all you need to shoot. So I'm ready to shoot this now, and let's have a shot. Okay, so we've fitted the D-loop, got the ROS on, the sight's on. Now generally when you line up the sight, so the string with the arrows, the sight should be slightly on the left-hand side of the arrow. So if I put the arrow in here, this is a Victory TKO thin arrow. Now the gap on the D-loop here is probably about right. It could be tighter, but you don't want it too tight, because if it's too tight, it's going to pinch the arrow. So if I line up the string with the arrow, which I'm trying to do there, you can see the pins are slightly on the left-hand side, and they're too far on the left. So I'm going to move that across with the Allen keys. Now there's the problem right here. When I'm putting the D-loop in, I can't actually get it to close because there's pressure on the thing. So you can see there, that's too close. that D-loop is way too close to the knock, so it needs to be longer. I mean, if I had D-loop pliers, that would clearly pull tighter. So we're just going to try this out. So I'm going to talk through setting up a bow and shooting the bow as well. When you hold the grip, not like that. It should be like that with knuckles. There should be nothing touching under here. So the bow just sits in this point just there. So your hand comes in like that, and then it's just like that. So nice and close, like that. Underneath, it sits like that. That's the way you should hold your bow. It stops the torquing, it stops you derailing the bow. When you pull back the bow, you should always have an arrow in the bow. Stops you dry firing the bow. I get about one dry fire every 2 weeks. So I always pull back, aiming at the target. Now I reckon this sight's going to be low, so I'm just going to go from that straight off. I'm going to move my sight up, and that's just based on intuition. I think it's low because of the distance from there to there is really close. So I'm just going to move that up just a smidge. I'm moving up the whole housing. But you start off close. Always start close. So I'm just moving that whole thing up. So you can see where it's sitting now. It's not in the middle, but it's not too far. So I'm just going to aim kind of at the top pin. First shot's always the scary one because that tells you how your sight is. The D-loop's a pain. Right. So I get my grip. So stand off a bit. So this bow's set on 29 inches, so it drops back to the 90%. I'm going to take this shot. The arrow went slightly high on the target. So now I'm going to have that option about moving this whole sight to the next holes here. Moving it up one, but I do have to move the sight, the top pin high because it's actually in the middle at the moment. That's where I want my 30-meter pin. But overall, the Evolve cam system is very smooth to draw. You can see I drew that back really easy. Now I'm not a big fan of short bows. I would have gone for the Evolve 35. Now the Evolve 28 is 28 inches, the Evolve 31 is 31 inches, and the Evolve 35 is 35 inches. So I would have gone for the Evolve 35, and then I shot the Evolve 31. I thought that's a lovely bow, and now I'm shooting the 28. I'm like, that's a pretty nice little bow. So for me, this is not a target bow. This would be a hunting bow, field bow, recreational bow. Just nice and compact. The weight, the balance is perfect. That's my hand open right there. So the balance is just perfect. You get back here, it's 90% let off, so I'm holding 6 pounds. The pin's dead steady on the center. I don't think that moved in my hand. Feels pretty good. I feel like I'm taking away from the bow review of this bow, but one of my staff shot one of these this morning in the shop, 70-pound version. And he came back and goes, "That's pretty good, I want one." And I was like, "Really?" He's a big, tall guy. Like, really, you want a 28-inch bow? He's like, it's pretty good. I was like, oh. And this is the first time. That were my first two arrows ever with this bow. That was a knock. Just Robin Hooded the knock. Look, lovely bow to shoot. Really looking forward to doing a bow review on this bow. It's all set up now, so we can do. The balance is good. So if you're going to fit a stabilizer system to this, you're not going to need a lot of weight. If you're going to put a lot of weight at the front, you're going to need to put weight on the back because the bow is perfectly balanced in the hand. So yeah, if you're going to add weight to it, I'm going to guess it's a hunting bow, so you might put 2 ounces on the front, 2 ounces or maybe 1 ounce on the back. That's it. Nice little bow. Yeah, nice little bow. So looking forward to doing a bow review on this tomorrow. Tomorrow we're also going to check out the new PSE Supra Focus, and we're going to compare the other PSE bow, the other PSE Supras of past, and also compare it to the new PSE Shoot Down. So a very different bow. They have new colors out, and I'm very lucky to have one to do a test for you. I hadn't done it before because I had to wait for today for PSE to physically release it. So with that, thanks for watching. That's the basic setup, and tomorrow we'll do the complete review of this bow and hopefully take this bow to 50 meters to shoot if the weather holds out, because the weather's been absolutely atrocious. So thanks for watching.